Assalamu alaikum to all of you who are here in this hall and to countless others who are joining us through television screens. The topic for today's discussion is not only very important, but is also rather difficult and complex. It is about the water distribution between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And this is a difficult topic for all those who believe in the concept of Sochta Pakistan, thinking Pakistan. It would hardly be an exaggeration if I say, after air and oxygen, the single most important vital element of life is water. Without water, the human communities and civilization, without the sustained supply of water, human communities and civilization can neither sustain themselves nor proliferate. Unfortunately, when it comes to river water distribution, Pakistanis are already very sensitized, given the recent difficulties they have experienced in terms of interpretation of the Indus Water Treaty with India. However, let me say that Afghanistan, a neighboring country, which historically has been very dormant and underdeveloped in terms of the utilization of its own water resources, is now in the process of building a series of dams on River Kabul. River Kabul is the same river that moves from Afghanistan into Pakistan and joins River Indus at the point of Attock. In terms of River Kabul, Pakistan is not only a lower riparian, it is also an upper riparian. It's a unique and complex relationship. Since 2003, there has been a talk of a treaty, a water sharing treaty between Afghanistan and Pakistan. But to this date, due to various reasons, the treaty has not been finalized. Today, in this discussion, with this distinguished panel here with me, and with the audience joining here, we will try to understand that what are the challenges, what are the opportunities in terms of a water sharing agreement between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Can we formulate a water treaty that can not only serve the best interest of Afghanistan and Pakistan, but can also serve as a model, as a reference for the disputes between India and Pakistan in terms of the Indus Water Treaty. Joining me here in this discussion, on my right, is Mr. Ashfaq Mahmood, who is currently a co-chair of the trilateral dialogue between the United States, Pakistan and Afghanistan on the issue of the watershed management and the agriculture technologies. But previous to this, Mr. Ashfaq Mahmood has served as a secretary to the state of Pakistan, to the government of Pakistan, as secretary, water and power, as for planning and development. Mr. Ashfaq Mahmood has also participated in a secretary level talks between India and Pakistan. He has been part of the dialogue and discussions on Indian dams of Bhaglia, Kishan Ganga, and the Wular projects. And I'll fall upon Mr. Ashfaq Mahmood again and again in this discussion to give us a broader overview of the kind of difficulties we experience with Afghanistan. A very warm welcome to you, Ashfaq sir. Next to Ashfaq Mahmood is Simi Kamal. She's chief of the Gender Equity Program with Aurat Foundation. She's also chair of the Rasta Marketing Research, a very known civil society activist in Pakistan. A very warm welcome to you, Simi. Next to Simi is Mr. Shamsul Mulk, ex-chairman, Water and Power Development Authority, a known expert when it comes to issues of water, the treaty issues, the dam construction. So many projects, the hydroelectric and water projects in Pakistan have been developed under his watch. A very warm welcome to you, Shamsul Mulk sir. On my left is Dr. Alain Lamballe, who is affiliated with Futuribles, which is a think tank, which is a French think tank and publication. He's a doctorate in political sociology and expert, and as I found out a few minutes ago, an expert in South Asian civilizations and linguistics as well. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Lamballe. Next to Dr. Lamballe is Tauqeer Sheikh, Chief Executive Officer for Lead Pakistan, who believes that leadership is not only born, leaders are not only born, but leaders can also be created. Lead is also a partner in partnership with DFID, Department for International Development, UK. Lead has also created CDKN, which is a development and knowledge network. And Mr. Tauqeer is deeply interested in issues of water and climate. Next to Mr. Tauqeer, very warm welcome to you, Shah Sahab. Next to Tauqeer is Arshad Abbassi. Arshad Abbassi Sahab is a very familiar face on Pakistani media. He hardly needs any introduction. Whenever the television channels are discussing water issues, boundary issues, river issues, dam issues, Arshad Abbassi is a familiar presence there. He has worked in the past with the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and is a consultant on water and environmental issues. A warm welcome to you, all of you, once again. Before we start with the questions from the right side, I would like to show you a report, a brief report. As I said in the beginning, the issue is complex, it's difficult, needs understanding. This report will help us, for all of you, to put this discussion in a context.
There cannot be any life without water. Rivers are vital for agriculture, livelihood, and even drinking water. But with growth of human populations and their needs, water is becoming a scarce resource worldwide. Today, South Asia is one of the worst water-stressed areas in the world, and the Indus water basin is one of the most overused and thus threatened water source. Most of these rivers originate in the Indian-administered Kashmir, and thus Pakistan, being the lower riparian country, is in a very vulnerable situation. With these concerns in mind, the World Bank had helped India and Pakistan to sign a water-sharing agreement, the Indus Water Treaty, guaranteed by the World Bank in 1960. This worked well till the 1990s, when India, the upper riparian, went on constructing a series of new dams in Jammu and Kashmir on the rivers which were given to Pakistan in the Indus Water Treaty of 1960. Pakistan sought the World Bank's intervention on the Buckliar Dam. Raymond Lafitte, a Swiss engineer, was appointed to arbitrate, but his ruling failed to recommend any major changes in the design of the Buckliar Dam. India had cited the availability of new technologies in dam making, and Raymond Lafitte practically ended up reinterpreting the historic treaty. As a result, today, Pakistan, the lower riparian in the Indus River Basin, feels extremely vulnerable and apprehensive about the future of its agriculture and livelihood. But now Afghanistan, which is the upper riparian on the river Kabul, is in the process of making dams for hydroelectric and agricultural works. Some of these projects were first conceived in the Soviet era in the 1980s, but now Afghanistan has ready fund availability because of donor money, and India is also helping the Afghan government with these dam projects. The river Kabul provides about 17 to 18% of the water in the Indus River, and thus is an important source of water for the Indus River System Authority, IRSA. When Afghanistan completes these dams, they will hold up to 4.3 million acre-feet of water, 25% more than Mangla Dam, and the water supply in the river Indus can be affected by 15%. However, River Kabul is also fed by River Kunar, which originates in Pakistan as River Chitral, and almost 60% of the water in the River Kunar comes from Pakistan, contributing around 8.9 MAF of water into River Kabul, which contributes a total of 16 MAF of water into River Indus. Pakistan has thus a unique position in this case that it is both an upper riparian and lower riparian on the River Kabul. The Water and Power Development Authority had constituted a 9-member committee as early as 2003 to study the use of water by Afghanistan and develop a blueprint for a treaty between Afghanistan and Pakistan. However, progress could not be made because the Afghan government failed to provide the details and data of river use which was needed. The fact remains that to this day, Afghanistan and Pakistan have not been able to draw a treaty. River flows at Adak have already been reduced, and a treaty that provides the model for governing relations between these two states is immediately needed. Lower riparian is always in a disadvantage, as India's changed interpretations of the Indus Water Treaty has shown. But in case of Afghanistan, Pakistan is unique in that case that it has both the upper riparian and lower riparian status on River Kabul. This may help to design a well-thought-out treaty that can serve as a model for fair and equitable water sharing in the region, even between India and Pakistan.
You just saw the report made by producer Taimur Yunus and his team. Now we have a context of the discussion. Let me start the discussion with Ashfaq Mahmood Saab here. Ashfaq Saab, how would you contextualize the challenges and opportunities in a water sharing agreement between Afghanistan and Pakistan? How do you see that?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Before I give you a very specific response on your specific question, I think it is very important that we understand why treaties are needed and what should be the contents of a good treaty. Once we have this baseline, we will be able to then understand what could be the challenges that can emerge, particularly in Afghanistan and Pakistan context. Now, as you know that water is a lifeline, as it has been shown here, so there has always been an issue between upper riparian and lower riparian, whether it's a transboundary issue or whether it is within the state or whether it is on one canal or one distributary and so on and so forth. So having said that, to be very brief, because I am aware of your time constraint, when Pakistan and India emerged on the map of the world, at that time, Radcliffe, at that time he thought that there will be no need of a treaty because the existing arrangements at that point in time will continue. In fact, they recorded it in 1947, 1948. But once the division took place and the upper riparian found out that it has all the powers, and because of lack of trust and because of relationship, as you know, at that point in time, the upper riparian could exploit the lower riparian. So that necessitated the first beginning of the dialogue on the transboundary relationship. Now, this had not been unique in Pakistan. There had been number of agreements, a number of issues. If you see, there had been number of times in Europe, even in within the states, in the United States, across the states, intra-states, even in Africa, there are always these issues between the upper riparian and lower riparian. So having said that, what are the concerns that an upper riparian and lower riparian have? Usually the lower riparian are afraid that the upper riparian will have a control on the water resources and can then squeeze your uses, in particularly the irrigation and agricultural uses. And secondly, it will interfere in the flow of water. And thirdly, it will not manage the water in its own watershed areas, so that the lower riparian does not get the benefit of integrated water management that would otherwise benefit if there were no such boundaries. Now, when it comes to making a treaty, the elements of a good treaty are, whenever there are such issues, the first step is to protect the existing uses. There is a Vienna Convention which says that whenever you come to allocating the benefits and uses of water, you have to first protect the existing uses. Once you protect the existing uses, then you look at the future and you see what are the prospects and potential uses and how the rest of the water
Ashfaq sir,
is to be
to
used.
protect the existing uses, you will have to have a data.
Yes.
How the river waters are being used,
Yes.
specifically in this case in Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
Do we have the data?
In the case of Pakistan, we do have a substantial amount of data. We had been trying to get data from Afghanistan. There is some data available in Afghanistan. Now we have to understand the situation in Afghanistan. They were not as developed as the situation in Pakistan in agriculture sector. So they didn't have that much of data, and since I am already interacting with my counterparts from Afghanistan in Pakistan, Afghanistan and US trilateral dialogue, I see that now with the assistance of US government, they have now got a lot of data which can be shared.
Let me bring, just stay with me, let me bring Dr. Alain Lamballe into this discussion. You're not from South Asia, but you know the South Asian conflict, culture, linguistics and everything. How are you looking at this challenge?
And I think with the new technology, it becomes more easy to get this information, and this is a must to start discussions. But I think there is another factor which should be taken into consideration is the actual need upstream and downstream. To be more precise about the Kabul River, we have to consider the number of population on the Pakistani side.
The number of?
Population, the inhabitants on the Pakistani side, and the number of people on the Afghan side. This is also much important because I think precisely there are more people living on the Pakistani part of the Kabul basin than in the Afghan part of the basin. Is it so? I think it is true. That's important, the demographic issue. That's what the remark I want to
Just let me take the question back to Shamsul Mulk Sahab, then I come to the other people. You being a known discussant, an expert, opinion maker on the issue of the water with India as well, inside Pakistan as well, on the Sindh versus Punjab and the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Are you worried that we are heading towards similar kind of problems with Afghanistan as we have with India recently?
What I would suggest that you advise the people concerned that the giant development of Kabul River should be taken between Pakistan and Afghanistan as an instrument of a strategic accord between the two countries.
As an instrument of?
Strategic accord
Accord.
between the two countries. And that is what I feel today, and that is what I would feel that we should be working for.
Arshad sir, very quickly before I move, do you think that a treaty which has no guarantor, I found out that the World Bank is not prepared to be a guarantor to this treaty, a treaty without a guarantor will work?
Mohit, first of all, I would like to share some of, we have right to conducting SDPI, I would like to share some facts. First of all, the total area of Afghanistan is 68 million hectares, and only 12 million hectares can be irrigated. Right now, they have only facilities, they can irrigating 2.5. The issue of Afghanistan is not with Pakistan. In fact, they have issue with Iran and other lower riparian countries, with Turkmenistan and with Uzbekistan. Let me share you another thing. The contribution of Kabul basin is only 15%.
Afghanistan.
First of all, actually Pakistan and our other intellectuals, we should help Afghanistan and Iran, both countries. They should reach a conclusion on a treaty. In 1924, they made some treaty, but they are not implemented. And secondly, I would like to discuss about the Amur River. Their other river is the Amur River. Would you believe their contribution toward Amur basin is 24%, but their usage is only 1%. No, we have to determine what is their actual need and demand.
I think Simi wants to add something, and while Simi, you raise your point, let me also tell you before the break, we can take one or two questions from the here. I see lots of people with interest in the water issues. So we'll take two questions from you as well, but go ahead, please.
See, my dear friend, the problem is pretty complex. And we often try to solve complex problems by political means. And in a world, by political means, you see, in a world beset with climate change, growing populations, food shortages, and Pakistan facing not only water security issues, also food security and livelihood security issues, we have to look at the problem a bit more holistically. So first, I'd like to go back to what you said when you started the program, and you said, well, this process with Afghanistan, maybe it will inform us about the Indus Waters Treaty. I think it's the other way around. We need to learn from the Indus Waters Treaty.
I think the conversation has to be broadened a little bit. It doesn't need to be win-lose situation. It can be win-win-win. I personally don't think that every infrastructural development inside Afghanistan should be seen threatening to Pakistan's interest. I think there's a lot of cultural affinity, historical affinity between Kabul and Islamabad for us to think together in terms of basin system. I think there can be more collaborative relationship. In case of India, we had two arrangements. One was division of waters, division of rivers. We don't need to divide rivers here. Second experience we have with India is apportionment of water, which is giving percentage of water to each side. In this case, that experience can also be moved. I'm quite convinced
that experience can be
invoked in case of Pakistan, Afghanistan.
Recently, we believe that experience hasn't been working very well with
I think we need to expand our relationship beyond terrorism and war on terror. I think there is sufficient economic and ecological integration within which we need to look at. All the indices that I see dealing with climate change, they rank Afghanistan and Pakistan very high in the top 10 oftentimes. And if Pakistan is depleted of water, Afghanistan cannot survive. And if Afghanistan is depleted of water and natural resources, it is a threat to Pakistan. So we have to ensure that Afghanistan stays an ecologically viable entity for the strategic advantage of Pakistan. And therefore, I think Pakistan has sufficient capacities on data. Our PMD, Med Department, can extend data facilities in many ways. WABDA can extend in many ways for us to have reliable scientific basis to establish scientific collaborative relationships.
Okay, thank you so much. Stay with me. All the panelists have spoken at least once. Let's take one or two questions from there and then before the break.
We are talking a lot on the Indus Basin, no doubt. Yes, Indus Basin is very important. Water is required. But on the other side, instead of putting more pressure on India because they are doing reservoirs or they are developing the dams, what our government is doing.
Thank you, Imran.
This is the issue.
It's both a statement and a question. Yes, please, go ahead.
Yes, water treaty se humne kuch seekha. Did we learn something from there? Or and we stepping out for another one, Afghanistan treaty. Do we realize that what Pakistan is considered as a water scarce country? So what treaty will it benefit Pakistan or it will only benefit?
Who would you like to comment on this?
Just because the relationship of Pakistan, when you exclude the problem of water, becomes far easier, in spite of the fact that issues like Kashmir remain. But if water was still a part of issues between India and Pakistan, I cannot even think of the type of relationship that Pakistan and India would have. Every morning, Chief Engineer Irrigation Punjab will wake up and will say, my God, what problems do I face today? It will happen every day. And there will be an addition. So, Indus Water Treaty was in that context, it has to be seen. Number two, we lost the two rivers. There is no doubt about it, 3 rivers. And we lost not only 3 rivers, but we lost about 33 million acres of water. And there is a lot of water. But I think we purchased, in the sense, the reasonably well, at least Pakistan became independent in its own sources of supplies. Pakistan's about, you know that about 7 million acres of land was dependent on the irrigation from those eastern rivers. 7 million acres of irrigated land is a lot of area. And if this had still remained as a part of, I mean, I would not, even if India wanted, then let's share water and not the rivers. I would say no. I would like to share the rivers. And not the water.
But what about the other thing which we comment, the question on Afghanistan? What is Mr. Imran said?
I should never look at my relationship with Afghanistan in the same context as India. India and Afghanistan, because I say, as I told you, maybe you may say, I'm a Pashtun and that's why perhaps I have some sort of a feelings towards Afghanistan. But because Afghanistan, as I said, there are common interests of Pakistan and Afghanistan, which are very few countries in the world, neighbors which have them. And they should support us.
At least there is one lesson.
Okay.
At least there is one lesson that I wish to respond to my colleague.
Yes.
One lesson is solve the problem proactively. Don't wait for it to become more complex. It's already very complicated. Already we are 30, 40 years behind the line. I think this is the time for us to engage Afghanistan proactively and other allies and friends, proactively, and create standing committee or a commission that deals with technical issues that arise from time to time, or that may possibly arise from time to time. Because this is an issue that has to be addressed only and only in collaborative terms.
I was about
yeah, exactly.
Just one moment. The point is, we should not wait for the day of reckoning. We need to start treaty built up right today, but it needs to not be signed tomorrow. But if Arshad says that the treaty is not needed for the time, let's solve the Iran and Afghanistan problem, I'm not for that. I think we need to build our case, our relationship, our foundation such that we have a very good treaty which becomes a model for Iran and Afghanistan later on.
We had an out-of-box, Simi.
I'd like to say first that there is a trust deficit between Pakistan and Afghanistan. That's given. We can't say that the trust is already there. So that's an issue we need to tackle. Secondly, the world has moved on since the 1960s. We are now building cooperative agreements in very different ways. They don't always have to be treaties. I'm not therefore saying that there shouldn't be a treaty, but if we can look at basin management, integrated water resources management, if you look at the whole basin, regardless of how many countries share it, and then you build agreements around that on the basis of what Chairperson just said, which is sharing benefits. That means you don't have to even physically share the water. You don't even have to argue about historical uses or how much water comes by. If you're going to use that water for electricity and 2-3 countries or 2-3 states can share that, then that's a very different way to move forward. So therefore, while we have, or we can look at many of the older treaties and we can quote so many of them in the world, we must also recognize that there's a new reality out there on the ground and that there are many different ways. So that framework that you are talking about, that framework I think should include a few very important points. Firstly, it should be integrated basin management. So whatever basin management, whether even India may be part of that, depending on where the rivers are, from where they originate and where they move. Then we need to move to shared benefits so that we don't haggle over just physically sharing water. Then we need to make projections for the future and look at the real issues that are besetting the world right now. Okay, we must not forget climate change. Pakistan and Afghanistan and parts of India are one of the hotspots, and we have seen what has happened in Pakistan. We should be spending much more time in planning ahead and then seeing what are in our interest in terms of how we deal with Afghanistan or India or other countries.
Three issues, Dr. Lamballe, I want to come to you. I know Arshad Saab, you want to contribute. Three issues have been identified by Simi: integrated basic management concept, basin management, a shared benefit for both Afghanistan and Pakistan, and projections for the future use. Now, since you are physically an out-of-box commentator here, coming from outside the dispute area, and you had initially suggested that population size and use has to be seen on both sides in terms of treaty. What do you think should be the underpinning principles of, after all, if we hear that World Bank is already ready with the treaty, so what would you recommend?
Yeah, so first of all, to get an agreement between two parties, there must be a will from both sides. You have the will, apparently, in Pakistan to have an agreement with Afghanistan. I think on the other side, some people may agree, some people may disagree to have an agreement now. The problem is that there are so many problems to solve in Afghanistan now that maybe that's not the first priority. Also, water is an issue. I wonder, however, if an intervention from another country is an advantage or not to get an agreement. That's the first remark I want to say. Maybe it is good to have another country, the United States for instance, but considering the problems of the United States in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, is it a good solution? Certainly an international organization probably would help. But before reaching a complete agreement, will it be possible to have a more less ambitious program to start with building a particular dam together between Pakistan and Afghanistan, a dam to be built Kunar River or the Kabul River itself. That could be.
They're in the process of thinking of 12 dams, a series of 12 dams.
Yeah, but 12 dams is a lot. I mean, you can start with one. Because if you are not involved yourself in building a dam in Afghanistan, somebody else may do it. Some other country may do it. And it will be your advantage, probably, to be involved right away to build a dam in Afghanistan.
I'm not saying I'm saying that's a distant thing to do.
I mean, this may be the objective of your project.
Good relationship. That is the beginning. If you have good relationship, good institutional arrangement, you're talking on common ground, common platform, assisting each other, that is the beginning of the treaty. The longer clauses, etc., will come later. But let's put the foundation right. That's what I'm saying.
Shamsul Mirza, since WAPDA has been mentioned as having significant and tremendous 50-year-long experience in dam building, do you think it's a realistic possibility of Pakistan being an active partner in the construction of dams, hydroelectric projects inside Afghanistan? Do you think that happening? Do you see that happening?
What I meant by joint development was that Pakistan would definitely offer to carry out a basin study for the whole basin, along with using Afghan engineers also and giving them the needed training. So that, you see, we must make a very genuine effort to tell them, you do not have this much expertise, therefore we have it, we will share it with you, and over a period of time, you will come to be as good as we are. Now, as far as WAPDA is concerned, I am sure that WAPDA will be very willing to do it, provided the two governments come to an agreement, and Pakistan is given a role. I'm sure WAPDA can do all these things. Why not?
Sir, I have a very niche kind of question to you. Some months ago, I interviewed Professor Robert Wirsing, who's writing a book on the water issue in India and Pakistan. He used to be an expert on South Asia. He's a US scholar based in the Middle East. He told me categorically that given the World Bank arbitration of Raymond Lafitte,
the World Bank?
The World Bank, the arbitration of Raymond Lafitte, the civil engineer, he thought that it was Pakistan's mistake to accept a civil engineer in the role of an arbiter, because a civil engineer was bound to look at the technological availability rather than the legal, pure, juristic interpretation of a historic 1960 treaty. Now, as a result of the interpretation which Raymond Lafitte did on the Indus Water Treaty, India is building hydraulic dams which are actually capable of stopping Pakistani water. Whether they stop it or not is a different issue, but they can press a button if they keep on making those dams and can stop every single drop of water flowing into Pakistan. Whether they would like to do it or not is a different issue, but they are attaining a capability and a capacity. I would like you and Ashfaq sir to comment on that.
I would definitely not expect that a very bad arbitration decision should become a model for all future things to happen. In fact, that arbitrator had no business to reinterpret.
But he did effectively.
No, but what I'm saying was, I think I'm sure, he had no business. What he had to do was that he would have come to both the governments and to say that both the governments should now renegotiate it, because in both this particular issue, there is no mention of it in the agreement. As it was a case in favor of Pakistan. Pakistan should have won that case. But Pakistan was made to lose that case just because he reinterpreted the treaty. And he had no business to do that.
I will add to it that part of the blame falls on Pakistan also. If somebody had no business to interpret the treaty as it was, done by an engineer, it was in the domain of legal experts, Pakistan should have immediately gone in for some court, international court, or the court provided in the Court of Arbitration provided in the Indus Waters Treaty, and should have challenged it, that this decision, because actually if you read in the draft final report, the neutral expert admits that Pakistan has made a very good case. In fact, the language that he used against India's submissions was, I think, shameful to them. So having said that, that avenue was created by us. Now, having created by an avenue and having a neutral expert who admitted that Pakistan is right, but then he took another course and took a legal reinterpretation, gave us another avenue to go and challenge it. And if we don't challenge it, it is we who are not implementing the treaty right, as we should have been doing it. But having said that, after winning the case and after bringing India to come to a table on a trilateral forum, which was a great victory for Pakistan, now we then lost our way.
Dr. Lamballe, do you see the risks involved in these kind of treaties?
Sorry?
Do you see the risks involved?
The West involvement?
Between the risks involved between Afghanistan and Pakistan in view of the risks we just discussed on India?
The involvement of the West, you mean?
No. I said that
I did not pick up.
when we look at the kind of situation that has developed between India and Pakistan,
yes,
on the interpretation of the Indus Water Treaty.
Yes.
Now, while we're debating a treaty with Afghanistan, do you see visible risks in that treaty?
A treaty between Afghanistan
and Pakistan.
Yeah. Well, there is always a risk, of course, but I think the situation is totally different. That it has been said. I mean, between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and between Pakistan and India, is totally different. I mean, there is only one river. In fact, there are 9 rivers, common rivers. We talk about the Kabul rivers, but what about the other one? Of course, the Kabul River is the main one, no doubt about it. So the problem is that should we have a commission for all the 9 common rivers, or should we only talk about the Kabul River? But the problems, I mean, between Afghanistan and Pakistan, again, are totally different from the problem between Pakistan and India. We cannot compare.
Absolutely. If we start with collaborative foundation, there is no risk for this.
Do you know how much you are paying the price for not building Calabar?
You tell me, sir, I'm not an expert.
132 billion rupees a year. The people of Pakistan are paying that price. Let someone tell me a single benefit of not having constructed Calabar for the past 20 years, and I will start telling him the disadvantages and the damages that it has done, starting from load shedding, the closure of the industry, starting from all these things, including a payment of 132 billion rupees. Very simple. Calabar would produce about 12 billion units of electricity. It will cost 1 rupee 2 paisa a unit today.
Today?
Generation cost, like all other hydrofuels. Karvela, Mangla, Ghazi Varota, the average price of these cost of generation is 1 rupee 2 paisa, compared to 12 rupees 4 paisa of oil.
The question that comes to the mind is that if we, inside the framework of the Federation of Pakistan, are unable to assure the lower riparian.
No. These are extraterritorial influences.
I
don't want to go.
May I give you another viewpoint on that? See, we must look at the issue from different facets. And I fully agree that, we haven't been able to sort out problems within the country, and here we are out trying to do it with Afghanistan. Yeah. The issue remains that we must respect and we must hear out people who are speaking. We cannot dismiss what the Sindhi nationalists are saying. We must give them the right hearing that they deserve, okay? The issue is not just of generating more electricity or more water. We must see what is happening with the electricity we have now and with the water we have now. How much of it is lost in transmission, how much of it is stolen, how much of it is lost otherwise. There are plenty of calculations being done by a whole range of people in different disciplines to show that if we could keep our irrigation system in better order, we would be generating at least as much water from that than we would generate from building new dams. So then there is a whole cost element we have to see. How much does it cost to build one, and can we get the same results by spending less money? Then also, we have to think in terms of conservation. We never do that. We have, Pakistan is a country that produces less per unit of water and per unit of land than most of the countries of the world, and even less than India. So where can we justify the amount of water we spend per unit of crop production? Let's think about that. So these are issues, and then when we talk about interests, we must go back to that from what was being said over here. Whatever we do and whoever we talk to, whichever country, we must put our interests first. I firmly believe that. And when we talk of people power and people-centered work, yes, we must think of our people first. That doesn't mean we don't think of others, but it is only when interests of different countries converge and when they can be convinced that they converge, only then can we make a leap forward into trust.
Just 5 more minutes. We have to wind up this discussion. If any more questions, you can raise those questions. Yes, go ahead, Shamsul.
I just want to say one thing. I wish those people who have been saying this thing to Pakistan, that if you conserve this and you conserve this and you improve this and you improve this, you will not need anything else. I hope that they are able to persuade India not to build these dams on our rivers and do the same thing as they are proposing for us. I think they should do this sort of a sermonizing over there for
So
their
this is a very, what they call in Urdu, Zumani reference to what people are you referring to here?
No, no, but I have given you a figure, which is somebody should answer me. Why should I pay the price for somebody else's views?
So let us ask this question to Dr. Lamballe. So why should Pakistan pay for? Do you understand the question which Shamsul Mulk has raised? Can you repeat the question for Dr. Lamballe?
My question was only simply this, that we are paying 132 billion rupees this year. We have paid for not building Kalabagh. We have been paying it ever since 1995. This price, we have paid price for 5 Kalabaghs without obtaining the benefit of that.
Yeah, you mean you
Now,
should? I understand you should have built the Kalabagh Dam, but obviously it's a purely national matter. I mean, it's not an international
I
one.
would like to add one thing. I would like to add one thing. You know, last year we faced unprecedented flood. Pakistan have to build the dam. Okay, sir. Not to reduce the vulnerability of the flood.
There is an argument. There is an argument to learn from lower riparians. Sindh is a very emotional case. Persuasive, if it is politicized, it becomes difficult. But for reasons of national integration, we have to invest a lot more in research and R&D. And institutions have to be nurtured and built, and investment has to be made. But then, 1991 Accord is a mysterious accord. We are happy we have an accord, but it is a gift of dictatorship. And that has resulted in resentment from Sindh. Now, several principles of 1991 Accord need revisiting. Just one example. It has added immensely to groundwater extraction in Punjab, by way of example, which means that our overall long-term fertility and productivity of land is declining and diminishing. That's a huge cost to pay for 1991 Accord. And it's already very old and ancient. For us to survive in the contemporary world, we need to revisit this. There was a question about groundwater usage in India, and there's a NASA study saying that there's an implication. Now, if that is the case, NASA study says that groundwater usage in India results in diminishing stock in Pakistan. Same argument would presumably be applicable between Sindh and Punjab. It can be overly explosive unless we start addressing those issues. And my last point, I do wish to draw your attention. In 1947, we were on only 40 million, and now we are 6 times. Look at the per capita usage. It has to diminish. Look at next half a century. Will be at least 6 times more people. Water quantity in river systems will not increase. So it is imperative for us to learn one simple thing. In next 20 years, learning to live with half the water quantity that we have with twice as many people. That's the bottom line for next 2 decades.
Sir, I just want to take the last question from
But let very briefly. Whatever you show reservation about the 91 Accord is personal reservation, a personal view. 91 Accord was made with the consensus of all the chief ministers and during a democratic regime. One thing, Accord is a perfect issue is implementation. And you know, to implement that accord, Ministry of Water and Power, they have spent $360 million rupees to install a telemetry system. But unfortunately, Secretary is sitting here. You know what happened with our telemetry system? After 5 days, after 6 days, I don't know what are the reasons. That was shelved. So again, the issue is a implementation. Accord is a perfect.
Okay, let's take the last question.
We entered into the treaty in 1960. But we have not developed our legal squad of lawyers to fight our case. Always we hired the international lawyers. They can also be rehired by the India. Why people have not developed the squad?
I understand you.
Why?
Khaled, thank you. Ashfaq sir, I think this is a valid objection that the government of Pakistan, which is actually represented by the steel framework of the civil services, has not really developed any capacity or the skill set. You don't really have the capacity to deal with these issues.
No. You see, first of all, these issues are rare. So you have to hire expertise that's available.
But very vital.
Vital. That's why, precisely for this very reason, since Pakistan did not have any experience of international arbitration of this nature, precisely for this reason, we hired the best people in the world. Having said that, I think the gentleman here is missing the point. When we came back, we said that not only that our points have been endorsed, but since the neutral expert has gone overboard towards the legal interpretation, Pakistan will challenge it. If he goes and checks the record, it says that Pakistan will challenge that why a particular area which was not in the domain of a civil engineer has been attempted in order to give benefit to India. So having said that, basically I think what is missing is that they should have carried it forward and taken it to the right forum. Whatever the decision at the end of the day, when you go to a court or any other, but we are feeling thirsty because we didn't take the next step. That step should have been taken. When you go to a court of arbitration, whatever decision you have to accept as a civilized nation.
Why not? Why was that not done?
But that's precisely the issue. Why was this not done?
Simi, what we have to need is to actually, we have to bring transparency within our ministry and our.
Yes,
can we arrange in next any session? Yeah. I want to show the video of last day of hearing, and where audience, then you can judge what was the performance of our secretary, our lawyer in the last hearing day. You know, our lawyer was literally, he has confronted with the neutral expert.
He couldn't, or he confronted?
He confronted. And then Indian lawyer, Nariman, he have actually, you know, what he asked Pakistani lawyer to please, he's a judge, you have to respect. And that's why our lawyer actually, he have hired the neutral expert.
Okay, but I want to wind up I want to wind up this discussion. I think so far what we have found out, given the fact it's a very complex issue, that there should be understanding, there should be collaboration, there should be the three principles we identified when Simi narrated them, that integrated basin management, a shared concept of shared benefits needs to be understood, and there has to be projections of future, which I think Dr. Lamballe would readily agree. Is there any point this panel wants to add something before I sum it up? Is there any particular point vis-a-vis Afghanistan-Pakistan treaty? Any point that you think should provide the
point? There is 2 points. Simi Kamal, yes, his contribution is wonderful, but we have to see what India and Bangladesh they have done. Initially, India has come up with the same slogans, integrated water management and this, and they have 3 treaties, and unfortunately, and every year they are violating it. So this is a very good phrase, but in reality, the things are altogether very different. What we have to need to do is to help Afghanistan to need an agreement with the Iran, with Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan first, and then we should pave way for Pakistan, because we are the brothers.
It's never been like that. No, you know, we don't go and help second countries do things with third countries. We have to be, why should we do that? We have to put our own interests first, and if you want to add a 4th point, please add that.
Very sorry, all Central Asian countries, they are pursuing us, and honestly, since last 1 year, they are engaged with us, and we are giving them very honest opinion.
Simi, and
that's all right. That's okay.
The time, I think it's getting more heated by the passage of the time, but the time is almost over.
The last point I would like to add here is that Pakistan should take initiative by inviting Afghani engineers, experts to come to Pakistan,
and learn
be
from
in
us.
our institutions, learn from us. We will also learn from them. It's not going to be unilateral. And we should also, so this is this issue, this system of mutual interchange is the one which will set the tone, the trust, and the basis of exchange of data and further information. I would like to add.
Ashfaq Sahab, thank you so much. Thank you so much to Simi, Kamal. Thank you so much to Shamsul Mulk Sahab, to Dr. Alain, Lamballe, to Tauqeer Sheikh Sahab, and to Arshad Abbassi Sahab. Thanks for joining us, and to all of you who had the patience to listen to us. It was a very complex, as I said in the very outset, a complex, a difficult subject. And as this discussion has moved, I have learned one thing, that if, as of now, there is no clarity on the issue of how we're going to deal with the water sharing agreement with Afghanistan, one can imagine how little clarity might exist in the case of Afghanistan, which is not an agriculture country, which hasn't signed these kind of treaties before. But the point which we have is ultimately we have to sign a treaty, a water sharing agreement with Afghanistan. It's high time that we should start thinking in terms of a skeletal arrangement, in terms of a blueprint, in terms of assessing our needs, our future projections, Afghanistan, and 3 points that Simi Kamal had said, that we should think in terms of integrated basin management, in terms of shared benefits between Afghanistan and Pakistan, and also in terms of projections to the future. I leave it on this. Thank you so much.